let's finally talk a bit about Tokyo 2020. In particular, Simone Biles has, caused a huge media storm across the world by withdrawing from some of her events. We don't yet know if she'll participate in some, but she cited her mental health. And there seems to almost be a kind of celebration of this, almost as if it's better that she withdrew on these grounds than had she won. I mean, Brendan, you've written about this. What do you make of it?
The whole thing is so weird and a little bit depressing, because Simone Biles is one of the Olympians you tune in to watch, because she is just phenomenal. I mean, if anyone who's seen clips of her on the floor in particular, there are moves that only she can do. So she's this incredible athlete, this incredible Olympian, one of the ones who's most popular, and people really want to watch that stuff. And then she dropped out. So it's depressing from that level. We won't get to see her do her stuff. But then the discussion about it has become crazy. Now, we don't really know why she dropped out. It looks to me like she really fluffed the vault really badly and maybe got nervous for some reason and then decided to call it a day. Now, maybe that's justifiable. We don't know what's going on in her mind. We don't know what's going on in her life. That's her decision. But the celebration of it as this wonderful breakthrough, and some people saying it's better even than if she had won gold, because she sent this message to the world, especially to girls, that it's okay to prioritize your mental health. It's okay to pull out of things if the stress gets too much. And Michelle Obama approvingly tweeting about Simone Biles by saying, "Am I enough? Yes, I am." That's apparently Michelle Obama's mantra. I guess that's easy to say if you're a very wealthy former first lady and you wake up saying, "Am I enough? Yes, I am." But lots of people don't wake up feeling like that. And presumably sports people in particular don't wake up feeling like that. The whole point of being a sports person is you never quite think that you're enough. You're always pushing and trying to get faster and stronger and everything else. And that's the whole motto of the Olympics.
Yeah.
And so the spectacle of the Olympics, the thing that's so wonderful about it is that it is these human beings doing superhuman things that the rest of us can't do. They're faster and stronger and more agile than the rest of us. So now that we're seeing a celebration of frailty in the Olympics, I think that's a worrying sign of the times, and a worrying sign that we now value victimhood. I don't think Simone Biles is a victim, but that's the culture that's been whipped up over the past 24 hours. We now valorize the culture of victimhood over the Olympian culture of pushing yourself to your limits, and that's a worry.
And Ella, I mean, what do you make of the kind of discussion around mental health that this has kind of become a part of? Because it seems to me that, as you say, Brendan, we have no idea what's going on in Simone Biles' head, partly because mental health can mean anything from severe psychological trauma, debilitating illness, to I feel a bit rubbish.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Biles, I mean, there's been some reports now that either she said or someone said that she got the twisties, which sounds like having vertigo in midair. It's sort of horrible, and actually can be, as I'm no gymnast, but sounds like it can be quite dangerous. And so you can imagine having being freaked by that happening to you and losing all your confidence and deciding to pull out. And while there should be no, you shouldn't be condemned for that.
Yeah.
That people should be sympathetic about it. The fact it is a failure. It is either it is a failure on your part, it's a failure on luck, not being with you that night, but it is a shame. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's shameful. Yeah. But I think the important thing about saying that is that necessarily a mental health issue? Or is it just a part of life that happens? I was struck by the contrast in the way in which Tom Dean, the GB swimmer, was talked about in relation to Simone Biles. I mean, he was celebrated a lot. He was all on the radio in this fantastic double win or triple win. I can't even keep up with it. And he in particular had COVID twice before, while he was training, and had to kind of mentally and physically, at one point he wasn't able to get up the stairs without getting out of breath, and he managed to push through that, 21 years old, and get several medals at the Olympics. And there was a quiet kind of celebration of that. But there wasn't, I thought, I'm pushing myself around Parliament Hill Lido, thinking I've got to try and be more like Tom Dean. This is, and, a useful means of shame, of saying I've got to kind of try and aspire to this greatness. But there was less willingness to celebrate that feat of humanity, of him pushing himself mentally and physically to the edge and succeeding. And it's very easy to, as Brendan says, celebrate someone who steps away and steps down. And it sets a very dangerous precedent for any kind of healthy competitiveness, or actually the healthy way of looking at failure, which is to say that it's okay to fail. No one's going to kind of ring you through the streets and paint a bit, big letter A on your back and whatever, and
hang an effigy of you, as we've had with footballers. I'm glad we don't do that anymore.
No, but failure is part of competition, and it's always a risk. And if you fail, then that's life. And rather than taking it as saying, fair play to Simone Biles, she has to do whatever she has to do, let's move on, you have this kind of talk about carnivals. You have this carnival of celebration of turning her weakness into a strength, when actually, no, it's a weakness. It's not a weakness that she should be whipped for, but it's a weakness. And that has to be part of sport. It has to be part of any kind of form of life, or otherwise we're just pretending that life is always sunny and always lovely. And when anyone actually comes to face a real kind of failure, they're not going to be able to handle it. That kind of bad precedent is the worrying one.